need this to behave. Maybe. It was freaking out a second ago. There we go. Okay. Hi, everybody. For anybody who doesn't know who I am, my name is Tiffany Grant. This is my author page that this is on for Facebook. I am doing this live as a celebration for the upcoming release to the sequel of Sacred Tears: The Dance of Iris, the new book, Thorns for Darren, as you can see on the screen pictured here, around here. I can actually move myself around now as I figure things out. I thought I would leave it there for right now just to make things a little bit easier. But yes, so for anybody who does not know, Sacred Tears: The Dance of Iris follows the story of Iris Stratton, who let me hold up the first book of the series just as a reminder for people. It follows the story of Iris Stratton. She has just survived an attack on her village, and she has set out on a quest to try to stop this same threat from taking over the rest of the kingdom. As she goes, she gets thrown into the mix of other wanted criminals, and she's not sure who's going to help her or cause her more problems. The two main points of view are Iris, and the other one is Darren. And Darren is a man with a shady past who is trying to escape it. The book for Thorns for Darren, if I don't dyslexify it, is coming out November 1st. I had an author copy ordered, but sadly it still has not come in. It's being very slow in the delivery process. So instead, I'm going to read off the screen here the back cover, or what we call the back blurb copy of the book, so that you have an overview of what book 2 is about. I did this. It's all my fault. Thief, traitor, murderer. Darren has been called many things. Most of them are true. The woods were his haven from their hatred. There he thought he could hide from his haunting past. Then came Iris. Her pleas forced Darren to confront Vitsangia's prophesied doom. The sadness in Iris's eyes dragged Darren out of hiding and into the jaws of a perilous journey. For a moment, she made him believe he could be more than his darkest shame. Now, Iris's screams haunt his dreams. Darren plunges ahead to free her from Yanser's bloodthirsty clutches. Will Darren be forced to sacrifice Iris for the greater good, losing her forever? Or will he destroy himself first? Iris sits in the hands of her greatest enemy, awaiting her death sentence. Dragged out of her cell in the middle of the night, she is suddenly thrust into the center of a royal conspiracy. Eye to eye with the ones who murdered her family, the Holy Father requests an impossible task. Love them. So that is what book 2 of the Sacred Tears series is about. Now, one of the things that I wanted to do with this live stream is we were going to answer some questions. So let me move my face. We're going to shrink me down. Bye, I'm melting. And out of the way so you can actually see the questions that were asked. So I put it out there, said if anybody wanted to know certain things from this live stream to go ahead and ask, and so we're going to go through those. First one is, what inspired you to write your stories? Then what is the lore of your stories? Do you plan to write more novels that connect to your first 2 sacred series? And what is the publishing process? So we got a lot of things we're going to go through. I don't know how long I'm going to take to go through them. We're going to try to cover them in a decent manner. If I can get these things to not close on me. Sorry, my computer is acting suspiciously. Okay, so to start off with, what inspired me to write? I guess I can make myself a little bit bigger. Not super tiny, not too big. Still can still see things. All right. So on the screen here, you can see a variety of things. Like you have Around the World in 80 Days. If anybody is familiar with this movie right here, which is A Little Princess, I think that was the version in the 90s. Then we have the Chronicles of Narnia. So those things, along with like this down here, which is Reader Rabbit, was a game. Those are all some of like the positive influences that built up a great passion and desire in me to become a writer. And like they're specifically these items, not just the general premise of them, but these items in particular were huge things that just fostered in me this desire to create stories. A Little Princess, this one, the character Sarah Crew faces really hard times during, I think it's World War One, and is sent off at a boarding school and doesn't know where her future is going to be. I don't want to give too many spoilers for anybody who doesn't know the story. I mean, it's been around a long time, but still, it's a really good story, really good movie, and you should watch it if you haven't. But what I loved so much about it is that in that movie, Sarah uses stories to give hope and give strength to people in really dark places. Her stories that she makes up on the spot often give people courage to push through the tough things and do things that they never thought they could do before, and it just kind of sets this ball rolling of making everybody's lives better. And I watched that movie when I was 8 years old, and I was obsessed with it. I just loved the idea of, one, her being so young and making such a big impact, and two, the way she made an impact and how much hope and how much goodness that she was able to show everybody in that. And she was also very sassy and knew how to stand up for herself, so I liked that too. But that kind of made me want to be able to do that as well. Like, I wasn't super conscious of that connection for the longest time, but it definitely embedded the idea of like, wow, stories are really powerful. The Chronicles of Narnia represent how my dad would read to my sister and I for the longest time growing up. He often told stories to us. He would make up stories with our names in them, and he would come to my school and he would tell Aesop fables in front of the whole school or my whole grade. We moved a lot when I was younger, and it was a method that my parents would do to try to help me be able to find new friends. Worked really well. And I found an ability to fall in love with, just how much it brought people together, the camaraderie, the fascination, the love of the cliffhanger. My dad definitely inspired that because he had a way of ending wherever he read for the night. In a way that made us always wish we had more and like, oh no, what's gonna happen next? And it was really exciting and really fun. Then there were books like I got into like the classics. I loved like Around the World in 80 Days. Pretty much a lot of Jules Verne was like, that was my go-to, because it was adventures, it was the wonder of the world, and it's kind of that sci-fi, a bit fantastical in its storytelling, and it just made my imagination go. And I wanted to be in those worlds. And then like as the Reader Rabbit one, which is this one down here, I'm putting my face over, that represents how did homeschooling for a while. And one of the big ways that I did homeschooling is that we had a lot of like computer game that were actual learning stuff, and we did a lot of writing, a lot of reading, and I loved anything that gave me an excuse to come up with my own story. And I loved the Reader Rabbit game. because it was supposed to help you with English and grammar and all those things, but I got to write my own little news article, and I felt so, special. And I was like, oh, I made my own story, and it's there on the computer. It wasn't really that big of a deal, but it was a big deal to me, and I loved it, and it meant so much to me. Now, the other thing that inspired me to write my stories is, you see this one here, Billy Budd. Now, this is no shade to anybody who likes this book, but to me, this book represents my great distaste for some of the stories that I was made to read in English classes growing up. I absolutely despise certain endings in stories, and I vividly remember being so mad at reading different books and how they ended and how they went about, and saying, well, you know what? Fine, I'm going to write my own stories, and they're going to have good endings, and that's going to fix all those problems. And so that was kind of the other side of the impetus to want to become an author, is I was going to fix it all and make it all better. Aside from the inspiration of the written world stuff, you also have my personal brain stuff that all kind of built up who I am as an author and how I became more into the types of stories that I write. So something I've discussed multiple times on this page and other places in all my social media-ing is that I am dyslexic. And with dyslexia, it affects pretty much every aspect of who I am and my life and how I function in the world. With dyslexia, the world kind of stays in flux. It produces the ground for like a very, very loud and very vivid imagination. And with that, it spawns my tendency for what is called maladaptive daydream. And this is, I'm going to read here what it actually says it is. It states one of the signs is that it's a condition where a person regularly experiences daydreams that are intense and highly distracting. And it is very common that growing up, one of the things that I would often do is that I would fall into these daydreams where I would make up stories. Sometimes it would be I would, whatever TV show I was hyperfixating on that time, I would imagine myself in the story and having it out with characters that I was really upset with. And sometimes there's brand new stories that I'm going in, and I would sit there and imagine these stories, imagine these dialogues, imagine all these things for hours, so that I would actually end up not sleeping until 2 to 3 hours later. So maladaptive daydreaming, it's stated that one of the signs that it interferes with daily life, and that would probably be a solid way in which it interfered with my life, that I didn't get the sleep that I needed to get. Along with the whole dyslexic thing, there is a tendency to have depression. It affects a lot of the mental, emotional well-being. There's a lot of spaces of just freezing in life, being overwhelmed, certain things being harder in general. It's for some people, there's a misunderstanding the concept that dyslexia is solely just the idea of swapping letters and numbers and just not being able to read and write. But as you can see, it can affect how you talk, it can affect your emotions, it can affect your ability just to function in the world, and that can be very overwhelming, and it can really get into the depression angle of things. So how that all bundles together to produce who I am as an author and inspire the stories as I write them. You would think, well, aren't these just bad things that would detract? Sometimes they can. Sometimes it can make it to where I don't want to write for the day, or the week, or the month. But it also has built in me a sense of compassion and as understanding as best as I'm able to for others who are facing long-term hard things in life. And it made me want to make stories that found people in the midst of those hard places and gave them strength to have a hope, an ability to have an escape or an inspiration that maybe they can do something or try something new or anything else to just kind of help get them out of the muck and the mire and the funk of all these things that can just kind of pile on along with just the general junk that life can have. Another thing that has happened with all these things, it's like, okay, so with maladaptive daydreaming, it did inform in me the ability to problem solve with my writing, like a more practical sense, but not so more aspirational, but the more practical sense of I was able to piece through going back and forth. I played around with dialogue a lot in my head, just over and over and over again, and how to break through different kind of story blocks. And it allowed me to really enhance my natural curiosity, my ability to ask questions. And honestly, I would say that's a really important skill for writers to develop in themselves, the skill of asking questions, because the more diverse in your questions that you get, the more creative your worlds can be. And it also helps to stop any kind of like plot holes or like obvious no, that wouldn't make sense, what are you doing? If you ask more questions, it can lead to greater story world building. And that's what a lot of the daydreaming made me naturally bend towards. I've also been a pretty inquisitive person, and that might be along with the whole neurodivergent viewpoint of life, is just because I see the world differently than a lot of people. It causes me to keep asking questions of why and how and what do I do with it? What's my part in it? How do these things work? And the more questions you ask, the more attention to detail you can do, and the more you're able to expand your creative thought processes. So that's how a lot of that bolsters there. And you also see on this page, another thing is the faith portion. That is a huge cornerstone in all that I do, because I am a Christian, and it does I can't think of the word, it feeds into, and it is a part of everything that I do and who I am. And it is the big inspiration for wanting to produce things that bring hope and love and life to people who feel hopeless and feel like they've never been seen, and who are just wanting places to find joy and peace and comfort. And I know that's can be a weird concept to consider, that fantasy stories can bring that, but I found the more that I read those stories, those are the things that I could often feel, and it helped me to go through the hard parts of my life and in my own mind. And I want to be able to turn around and take that and offer it to other people. So that is where a lot of my story inspirations, broadband, came from. And quite literally, the depression factor was one of the key points in producing Sacred Tears story specifically. I was in a big space of depression When I got the story idea, I was frustrated with the type of content that I was being given to read in my college education, and I wanted to just write a book that I knew where it was going to go. Originally, I was going to write a tragedy, and I was just said, oh, what if I call the book Tragedy and make it all sad, and people know it's going to be sad, and they don't have to be concerned about what happens next. And then it really spawned off into, okay, what do I see as sad? And I started questioning things like, could I survive if I didn't have that which was my foundation for strength in life? And then the challenge came for, okay, what if you had a character that everything that was her source of strength just got ripped away in one instance? And that just pushed that on there. So yeah, that came in a period of existential crises in my undergrad time period. So it's very interesting what can spawn different things in your life. Now, the next thing we're gonna go over is the lore. At least that was the thing that was asked next. People wanted to know. On the screen, you can see, or let me just move myself around. This is my first attempt at making the world map for Sacred Tears. I have a secondary attempt that is in the book. I can show you, which is it's a bit better. Not the best, but it's a bit better. Let's see if we can get it to where you guys can see. As you see, it's just mainly Fitzingia, which is the main country that is followed in book 1. This here on the screen is like the full world that I painted up on a scroll. So it's a little janky because I did paint on paper that was not meant to be painted on. It was meant for writing, but I did it anyway because I could. In these places, you have different countries. I'm going to make myself small so that I am kind of like a pointer. So we have here Fitzingia, which is the main central country of where the story spawns from. Now, I will say that while a lot of my countries are inspired by the cultures and nations of our world, it is not supposed to be hard and fast connections. So it was kind of I was inspired by, because I was trying to bring greater diversity into the world, into the story, and a natural flow of like how human connections work. But I'm also not trying to make it like a mirror copy of our Earth. I just wanted to have a range of cultures to grow the world building beyond just like medieval European fantasy settings, because that happens a lot, which honestly, that is kind of where Fitzingia is. Fitzingia, I would describe, well, a lot of these countries I would describe, they're kind of like at the beginning edge of their Renaissance period, which is the start of a lot of inventions and creativity and new wonders and excitements and more arts, more prosperity, all that kind of stuff. So Fitzingia is very similar to, I would say, kind of an American world setting with you have like the European kind of fantasy, swords, kingdoms, castles, all that kind of stuff, the lords and rulers, but more of the diverse cultural thing, like used to a wider range of people groups, and kind of a unified, like a large group going to a specific religions, but there are others who are in there that aren't necessarily, and it's not where it is dangerous to not be of a certain faith kind of thing. And then we have we'll go over to Yanser, which is a big part in Thorns for Darren for book 2 there. And that one is more South Asian inspired. And then we have down here, really little, is Mern. And that's more East Asian inspired. And Lithos is more Polynesian. Crine is more Caribbean. And then you have Silphaean, which is more European inspired, and Jerris is more like Inuit people group inspired. So that is the list of all the nations for part of the world building there. One of my favorite things about the world for Sacred Tears is that I actually really love the white and green sea. They're two bodies of water where the water literally takes on the features of their names. So the White Sea does look white and the Green Sea does look green. And down here where you have that point where the land almost touches between Silphaean and Phthyngia, there is actually like a demarcation line where the seas do not cross each other. There's not a blend, like it's almost like cut off, which that was inspired by how in the real world there's a space in the ocean where I think it's like the Atlantic and the Pacific. You can actually see, you can tell that they're the two different types of oceans. Like they'll splash over each other, but there's still kind of like a solid line of, oh, these are two different groupings of water. And I don't know if it's like the salinity or whatever that causes that. I'm not super versed on it. I just still thought it was really cool, and I wanted to include a kind of a similar fascinating concept into my world. Now, this is the original map. I showed you the semi-updated one in the book, and now for officially revealing to you guys the brand new map for the Sacred Tears world. Let me get myself out of the way so we don't block that off. And there she is! Isn't she so pretty? Now this one I got commissioned to be done by a great author and artist, and she also narrates books too. She's like very prolific in all the things. Trista Shea is her name. It's S-H-A-Y-E. So I asked her to make a more official looking map, and as we can see, it looks a lot better. If you ask me, I think this looks a lot better. This is has all the details that I love about it, as you see here. Let's go over some of the details. So you have down here, you have Alaster, which is let me go a little bit bigger yourself. Alaster is the capital of the Kingdom of Phthyngia. You have Thronesboro, which is where Iris is from, and Gerlinx, which was their sister village. And following along the trail to Sonskirt, there's X32, which was one of the stations that gets back and forth of the transports. And so you can kind of see that path that goes along there. And now we have Yanser and their kingdom's capital, Dirados. And you can see where the trees and the mountains and all that kind of stuff. And I really love down over here, the compass is the coat of arms of Phthyngia, where they have the scrolls, which represents their sacred texts that they follow. Their sword, kind of like their might, and the sun and the moon and the stars is kind of like how the might of their kingdom never sets, it's forever, all that kind of stuff. So as the series continues on, I wanted to include more of the countries that are in each book. So book 1 more so just had a map of Phthyngia. Now it's kind of expanded. Book 2, Thorns for Darren, has a lot more with going in, of course, with Yanser, but it does mention things about Lithos and Mern and Silphaean. And as the series continues, we'll expand further to show all of the countries for all the geographical stuff, because it just keeps growing, and I find it really fascinating, and I think it's really fun. Other parts of the lore. So that's kind of like the geographical stuff, some of the cultural things, but we're gonna now hone in more on the lore for the world creation for Sacred Tears, and just where a lot of their stuff spawns from. So here I have a picture that I had drawn actually a really long time ago, which was inspired from a scene in Thorns for Darren. So I'm actually going to read a little snippet that explains what we're seeing on here from the book. Intricate stone carved artwork depicting tales from their sacred texts framed the dark oak doors. One small piece blazed a luscious ruby red amongst the silver carvings. Stopping to investigate, Tess noticed it was red crystal. She noticed etchings of faceless humans kneeling in awe around the heart-shaped stone. The image soon bled into another scene portraying the same figures in great sorrow as the life around them withered. Tracing the carvings with her eyes, she saw a holy being directing a path to paradise. Some humans sought to rescue the others by sharing this path, but the others refused to follow, choosing to worship the crystal rather than embrace life and freedom. In the world of Sacred Tears, there are many crystals that are kind of like their technology. They have a lot of special properties. Some have lights that last for like hundreds of years. Like the ones in particular are stone lights, which is found mainly in the land of Fitsangia. And they also have other properties that they're finding. They react to like the small mountain stones, which allowed them to produce things like the transports and other technological advances, kind of a mix of seems mystical and magical, but also science and all that kind of stuff, which that was inspired by real world to me, because I feel like there's a lot of things in our world that would seem like wizardry when we don't know how it works. And the more that people study it, the more it gets classified into the science category instead of the fantastical fantasy side. So some of these crystals are like stone lights. They light the path. They help move machinery. Others are used for communication. Some are called betrothal crystals. In the country of Sylphaean, there's actually a situation how you propose to one is that you go and you find a large crystal in one of their caverns and you break off 2 hunks, and you have one for yourself and you give one to the person that you want to be wed to, and you wear those as your sign of commitment to one another, that both came from one, and that kind of like united in that sense. In this world, so from that little section that I read there, the crystals kind of became like their genesis story in a way, where there was this one crystal known as the Heartstone, as you see the red kind of ruby looking one here, and it was the story of the faith of those who follow the sacred texts. They're known as followers. I know, very very exotic naming. They're the followers of the Holy Father and Holy Beloved. And in the story, it is said that the great deceiver promised the children of the Holy Father that if they basically gave themselves up to this crystal, they then would become gods and have their own powers. The Holy Father was trying to warn the children that this greed and obsession and for the power and everything would destroy them, and he told them to turn from it and follow him instead. And those who would listen would find love in paradise, and those who rejected it and sought power would be doomed to eternal destruction. So that has produced in the country of Fitsangia this negativity toward the idea of anything to deal with the crystals. So stone lights, they are a crystal, but they won't even call them crystals because they don't like the idea of being like the Heartstone, so they call them stone lights to make themselves feel better. The heart stone, and where all this stuff came from, actually originated in the country of Sylphan, and that's where they say in their histories that the followers originated from, and that's where the sacred text came from. But that there was a period of enlightenment that went through for the Sylphane people, and they were more focused on technology and wanted to be intellectuals, and they deemed that if it can be explained, that it was not faith, and as more was understood, they presumed that the reality of a creator was not factual. And with that, there also came this idea of they started to see themselves as the true intellectuals and the best beings, and they started to develop a grand banishment that ousted anyone who didn't agree with our ideals on life, and that spread most of the people who now live ancestors beyond ancestors down into Fitzingia. According to the Fijian people, those are the people who live in Fitzingia, they say that this was all actually part of the Holy Father's plan, and that they, them as followers, had become complacent in their opulence, and that the Father had to send them out because they would not listen to his warnings, and the only way to force them to actually spread more of their faith was to be kicked out of their own home due to their disobedience. That is kind of the foundational principles for a lot of how Fitzingia sees itself as being this chosen holy entity unto the Holy Father, and why they think that they have a righteous decree to the world, and they have a right to kind of be the head of everyone else, where the Sylphanian people see themselves as more intellectual, and then you have the other nations like Yanser, which has a whole separate faith structural system too. So yeah. Sorry, that pretty much is the foundational lore for Sacred Tears. Now, some of this stuff gets alluded to in the Dance of Iris and in Thorns for Darren, but not all info dumpy like this, and there's still some stuff that hasn't been discussed, which I will kind of piece together more in the following stories. All right. Also, to go on with more things about Thorns for Darren, I have produced here, let me move myself out of the way again, some new characters, and this is probably the part that I was the most excited about in Thorns for Darren. It's like, I loved being able to come and do more of the story of Iris and the story of Darren and all the crazy things they experience and their hardships and their tenacity, but I am so excited about all the new characters. There are so many fun characters that have been added into this story, and so I did not have the money to pay to have the wonderful Laura Hollingsworth to make more really pretty art. She let's see if I have, what do I have over here? Yeah, here we go. She's the one that like made these character designs for me of the original book characters that are really nice and do not compare at all to what I've done. But I wanted to just give some drawings showing some of the different characters that you will see. So you have, I'm not going to give away who's who in all of these. So we have this one here, and then we have this group here, and then we have this group here. And it's just so much fun to me to be able to have such a spectrum of people coming in and so many cool new worlds. And I would love to have you guys in the comments tell me, what would you name these characters? Not knowing who they are, what names would you come up with? So we have Lady in Red. What do you think her name would be? We have Lady in Red, girl in green blue, and guy in purple. And we have little kid in blue, girl in green tan, and man in white. And then blue scarf, pink, green scarf. That's what I'm going to call them, just so that you have something you can allude to when you're saying what you think in the chat. What are their names? Okay. Next thing to move on. So we went over the lore, we went over the inspiration, and the other thing that was asked was how to do the self-publishing stuff. No, I'm not gonna go into super in-depth stuff here, just because that would make for a very, very long live stream. There's a ton of information, a lot of stuff. That honestly, it could be its own separate live stream. I would be more than happy to walk through my whole process for you guys, but that would need to be a separate live stream, and I only really want to do it if I have a good amount of people asking for it, because I don't want to have this big thing that I do that nobody really wanted. I know there's at least 2 people who asked for it, but I need a bit more than just that. But for now, I will point you to some really, really good resources that that inform me largely for what I am doing. So for one, if you look and see down over here, these 2 YouTube channels are kind of like my penultimate for helping me with publishing. You have MK Williams and you have Mandy Lynn from Stone Ridge Books. Both of those give you a lot of walkthroughs on how to do the print, how to do the marketing, what things to remember as you go along through the way. One of the methods that I use is printing my stuff through a company called Ingram Spark. Now, Mandy Lynn is not a fan of Ingram Spark, and I understand because there's a lot of issues with the customer service and other things like that, but I prefer to do it over Amazon, and she still does have some stuff that kind of tells you comparative how different books come out from each printing area. MK Williams is the one that I followed to actually gave me step-by-step instructions on how to work with Ingram Spark and other things. Other source that I use, honestly, if you are a fantasy sci-fi author, particularly of the Christian faith, there is a group that I absolutely adore on Facebook called Realm Makers Consortium. And that's Realm Makers. And they are the place where I'm able to talk with a bunch of other authors to get ideas and help and tips. It's where I have been able to find my editor, my cover artist, all sorts of stuff has been that way. So, and that's what I would encourage for people who are going through the publishing route. Find yourself a community, figure out, just even getting on Facebook and searching for genre-based groups. Like fantasy authors or murder mystery authors or romance authors. There are all sorts of different types of writing groups. You might have to try a couple before you find the ones that actually click well for you and give you the resources you're looking for and aren't just people trying to get you to buy each other's stuff, which I understand it is hard and you're hoping to reach an audience. And so there's a balance with all of it. But that would be one of the biggest things I would encourage is find yourself a community. Writing can feel very alone, isolating, can be very difficult to try to do and figure it out all by yourself. So if you can find some other people that you can bounce ideas off on, ask questions, have them kind of help point you in the right direction, that will be a huge part in doing that process. So that's kind of where that goes. For marketing and doing all the printing stuff, A lot of it has just been a lot of trial and error, and more error than trial. I'm figuring things out and trying to get stuff to work and just having to research stuff like crazy. If you want to be an author, you are going to be a researcher. It is just, they're gonna go hand in hand no matter what you do. It's just part of the process. No matter what type of writing you do, you'd be surprised how much research is involved in fiction writing. You think, oh yeah, like, okay, nonfiction, you could definitely see a lot of research. Fiction, tons of research too. And that is the scope of, from printing to writing to editing to publishing to building your own website and all the business ends. Because at the end of the day, being an author isn't just, oh, I write books. Being an author is starting your own personal business. If you want to actually sell your stuff. If you're writing just for the fun of it to share with anyone everywhere, then you can do that, no problem. But if you're writing to actually publish your stuff, you are starting a personal business. That's how it is. Okay, and next. All right, so as for something fun to add to all of this, I have done quite a bit throughout where I have done a Google Translate for Sacred Tears Dance of Iris. I had a little video that's on my YouTube channel for it, and I just find it really fun and fascinating to take text and put it through Google Translate way too much and to see what it spits out. And so I thought it might be fun to go through and read to you guys a passage from Thorns for Darren, which actually has some spoilers in it, but it's been put into so many layers of Google Translate that it's kind of impossible to tell what it's talking about. And I just thought it was funny and fun anyway, so we're going to read that out here. Let's see if I can make myself really small and out of the way. Now let me read this out. All right. Fear? I looked at him. He had an angry face. I stunned my enemies with every shot, sending hard shots like Sen. The earth is always working like a beautiful tree. Iris Fury looked angrily at Han. Nothing, please, but I can't. I can attack Guan, Lee McDan. Went to join the fight. Darren held his manhood tightly in his arms as they finished the service and massage. Wow, that is... nope. That's not what that's about. He shouted as he moved out of the way. Dorn flew north and fell to the ground. I love the Grong Fee peppermint bread-like shunt app. His companion defeated Neva. Darren opened the door for Iris. His chest was heavy and his hair hung down on one side of his face. He was pale and wearing a Neva shirt. His heart stopped when he saw Darren's shocked expression. His chest dropped. Iris quickly moved her feet and closed the distance between them. Darren D was employed. By Phil, beer or wrapper, mild, very mild. Brother, his voice trembled. I powered home. Iris smiled and hugged Darren tightly. Tears fell from his eyes. Iris tried to keep it down. He took Darren's hand. At the end, I looked at him. Looking desperate, Iris hugged Darren tightly. Tears fell from his eyes. Iris, Nargay, will officiate. He didn't want to hold Darren's hand. His face was red with anger. I will silence all my enemies and restore their strength. He struggled like a broken stone. Iris Fury looked angrily at Han. Nothing. Please, but I can't. I can attack Guan. Lee McDan went to the joint fight. Darren was working on a man's case with Han when he didn't arrest him. Sorry, he sounds like a detective now. He shouted as he moved out of the way. Dorn flew north and fell to the ground. I'm like Shant Ape. Pan's face and hard hat. His companions defeated Neva. Darren opened the door for Iris. His chest heaved and his white hair, he's got white hair, fell over his face as his eyes began to glow. He noticed that Neva was wearing a shirt. His heart stopped when he saw Darren's shocked expression. His chest dropped. Iris quickly moved her feet and closed the distance between them. Darren D made a good catch in the net. Before beer or wrapper, mild, very mild. Brother, his voice trembled. I powered home. Yes, it is very much like an autocorrect version of my story. I see. You're very, very true, Laura. It's great. It's great. It's kind of it's mixed multiple genres, and it really it's a whole new world there. A lot of new characters that I didn't know about now appear in it, so that that makes it all levels of special. But one of the other things, okay, because I feel like it's fun to have all the stuff. I've done a lot of talking, but I want to bring some fun, some more fun into things. One of the other things that I want to do, if I can find the page and not cause myself problems. All right, part 2 of this. Let me bring myself back up so you can actually see me again. I know the beauty of the translation will just exist in the background. Second part is that I have made up a Thorns for Darren Mad Libs passage. So what that means is that I am going to need some things from you guys in the comments. Now, I will go slowly because I know there is a delay in my talking. But I need these suggestions from you, and I'm just gonna pick whatever I see first in the comment section. So what I need first are 3 just general nouns, 3 random nouns. Okay, thank you, Laura. We have tree, bark, children, and pumpkin for the 3 general nouns. Awesome. Next, I need 3 male names. Type in those nouns here. Down 1. Okay, great, like that. We have Butch, Fisher, and Clyde for the male names. Those are great. And then I need 1 female name. Aurora, that's a pretty name. I like that. Okay, let me make sure I got there. Number 2 is Fisher. 3 body parts is the next thing that I need. 3 body parts. Don't know why Facebook keeps trying to hide your comments on me, Laura, so I'm having to unhide each of them time, but they come through. So I will make sure your stuff comes through. I don't know what Facebook's problem is. Okay, like that. Elbow, chin, and butt. Those are great. Absolutely fantastic. And now I need 2 adjectives. All right, I need 1 verb that ends in ed. Verb pooped. That's fantastic. That is fantastic. Okay, where is my ed verb? Okay, I might have read the other part wrong. I need 2 adjectives. And shuffle and sachet are verbs, and so I think I might have said that wrong. So I need 2 adjectives. That's my bad. In the comments. Okay. Nice. Burnt. Nice. I like that. Burnt is a good one. All right, adjective number 2. Smelly. Fantastic. Love it. Oh, that's gonna be good. Okay. All right. Now I need a verb that ends in ing. Verb that ends in ing. Oh, heavens. Okay, fantastic. Tell us your mom without telling us your mom. That's fantastic. I love it. I love it. Yeah, that's great. All right, and finally, just 1 present tense verb. Shuffle. Hey, you got to use shuffle after all. Okay. This is going to be very interesting. This is an excerpt from Thorns for Darren. Doing it Mad Libs style. This is just a few sentences that are now. yeah. There's quite a delay in the stream. I don't know how to fix it. I don't know how to make it better. It is what it is. Technology is great. All right, we're gonna read out loud the Mad Libs from Thorns for Darren. Pardon me, my tree bark. Butch's friend spoke up. But if I may be pooped, I'm certain my children and I could easily provide a solution. Peeing Fisher to her opposite elbow. To rest her chin, Aurora studied the burnt gentleman. And you are? Forgive my pumpkin. Butch bowed his butt. This is the smelly General Clyde. It is to his regiment I shuffle. Oh, Laura, I love it. Your additions made this for an amazing passage. It's absolutely fantastic. Oh, goodness. Oh, I'm going to have to keep that as its own special piece of artwork right there. Oh, it's beautiful. Okay. Now, after the fun and games of that, if I can words will be great, we're going to move on to the ending part of this stream. So, as you can see here, this is the website where you can actually get your copy of Thorns for Darren. As silly and fun as all this has been, and discussing the world and all that kind of stuff, it is a really good book. I am very proud of it. It is full of action and adventure and suspense and drama, and there's some romance and mystery, and there is betrayal, and just so much good stuff in this that I really think you guys are gonna love it. I love Sacred Tears, the Dance of Iris, but I have fallen deeply in love with Thorns for Darren. That I think it is a really good book, really solid, and you can actually get it at my website there. Now, I do want to say that there is a special giveaway situation going on for everybody. There are 2 prizes that you can get. One based on this live stream, and the other one based on just ordering your copy of Thorns for Darren prior to November 1st when it launches. So if you engage in this live stream, like Laura and Richie did here, then if you engage in it by liking it, by sharing it, by commenting on it, you will be entered to win a free ebook. Each act of engagement is an extra point. So if you share, that's a point. If you like, that's a point. If you comment, that's a point. Multiple comments doesn't mean multiple points, but it's just you can get 3 total of it, and that puts you in for a drawing to win a free ebook. If you have not yet gotten a copy of Sacred Tears, then your free ebook, if you win, will be Sacred Tears. If you have gotten a copy of Sacred Tears before, then your free ebook copy, if you win, will be Thorns for Darren. And that is something that we will discuss once the winner is chosen. And I so appreciate you. Yes, for those in the comments, you can see Laura said that it was the best sequel book ever. And she loved it. She actually is the first person who has been able to read the final copy of it. So, and according to Laura, it was amazing. And I think you should listen to her because I think it's amazing too. But yes, if you engage with this live stream, and it doesn't have to be while it's on the live, I will have the replay up on my Facebook channel, which you will, if you're, most of you are watching it now, you're probably watching the replay. You have until October 26th to engage with this video in some way, shape, or form to get yourself into that drawing for a free ebook copy. Then for the chance for winning in the second prize drawing is that you will have a chance to get a limited Thorns for Darren book launch box. And in that, there are things like I have stickers that have not been released anywhere else. So I can show you like these guys here, these stickers. I'm going to show if I can get it to show properly. And then this one that has nothing to do with the story, but I just made a dragon and I love her and I think she's super cute. She's a book reading dragon, and so she's involved in there too. Stickers, there you'll get a mug, of course your copy of the book, so, and like art prints, and there's a number of surprise goodies that will come with it. But basically, so that launch box is that if you order Thorns for Darren in whatever version, whatever format, prior to November 1st, you will be put into a drawing to get it in a box bundle with all those things. To be able to be in that drawing, again, you have to order a copy of Thorns for Darren prior to November 1st. Now, you can order directly through me on my website, as you see, tiffanygrant-choosethepen.com/store. I'm actually going to pull up my website so you can see what that looks like. If I can get that to behave for me real quick. Let's pull that baby up. Pull this over. So this is my webpage here. And of course you have all my other stuff, but if you see at the top there, you have a section called Store. And if you click on Store, it will bring you right up to my products. And then you have the ebook, and you can see here, it used to say pre-order, but I had issues with that extension. So now it's just an add to cart like a regular item. You just won't get it until it actually launches. But I also have recently added a special book bundle sale. So you can get both the hardback copies of book 1 and 2, or the paperback copies of book 1 and 2 for special discounted prices. And if you order either of these things, no matter which format, as long as it's a copy of Thorns for Darren in there, you will be put into the drawing as a chance for that. You can also do it by ordering it through Amazon or Barnes & Nobles, and that will be counted as a way to enter into that drawing. But I won't know that you've entered into it that way unless you send a screenshot copy of your pre-order to me. You can send it to me on my Facebook author page here. Please block out all your financial stuff. I don't need to see it. I don't need to see all that, the specific information, because that is private and that should be protected at all costs. So you can let me know if you've ordered it elsewhere through another means. I just need a copy of some way showing that has happened, and then I can add you into that giveaway prize drawing. To get an additional prize drawing in there for you, you can also make a post on your own social media accounts, whatever ones that you use, and show that you have ordered Thorns for Darren, but just hashtag it Choose the Pen or hashtag Thorns for Darren. Okay, so you see the Choose the Pen here, just do hashtag Choose the Pen, and that way I can find it and I can see your post and I can add that in as an extra point for that drawing. One thing I do want to say, and this is something that a friend mentioned to me, and I thought that was a good point, for those who are hesitant to do pre-orders because it can cause issues with like credit cards and overdraft fees, just know that if you order directly through me, that's like making a regular purchase. That's not going to be like a delayed payment situation for, like, say if you pre-ordered through a different site for some other product and they wait until the product gets to you to actually have the transaction go through. If you pre-order through me, it will just go through right away and you won't have to worry about having to fear for like overdraft fees and all that kind of stuff. I just wanted to make that clear. So again, those are 2 ways that you can get prizes. By interacting with the live stream here, you can have the chance of winning a free ebook, or by getting a copy of Thorns for Darren, you have a chance of getting a special limited edition box with a bunch of goodies and a lot of really cool things. I'll be making more posts about these things in the future just to help remind people so nobody misses out. But those are all the things. That's pretty much all I have. We went for about an hour or so on this live stream. It will stay up on the channel, don't worry, you have a chance to see it again. But yes, and you can continue to comment and interact on the video after the fact. The more you share, the more chances you get to see stuff. But overall, I do want to say thank you guys for participating. Thank you for coming out to see me. Thank you everybody who just follows my page in general. I really, really, really appreciate you continuing to support me in likes and comments and shares and being involved in what I'm doing. I know not everybody always has the money to actually put into these things, so just engagement helps a lot. It's a very, very hard thing to break through the algorithms and be seen, especially in places like Facebook, which will often bury a lot of people. I know that's something if you spend any time on here, you've had other people have that same problem, that people you want to see, you have a hard time finding because they're often buried under people that you don't really want to see. So every bit of engagement that you give makes a huge difference, and I really, really do appreciate that. And I'm so grateful to have you guys along on this journey as I am figuring these things out. I know this is my 2nd book ever that I am releasing. And I know I've been on this platform for like 4 years, but I still feel very much like a baby on all these things as I kind of stumble around and just try my best with it all. So I just want to say again, thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being involved. And I'm so excited to bring these worlds to you. I know a number of you have really loved the first book already and have messaged me specifically, tell me how amazing it was and how much it meant to you in your life. And I just feel that this second one is going to be even more of the things you love and just be so great. Yes, the author has run out of words. It's okay. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend, a wonderful rest of your night, and I will see you another time then. All right. Bye.